Well, new comic book day is upon us once again, so let's take a look at the books on my pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the pull list. It's my weekly video where I take a look at all the books coming out. This time we're looking at Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. I'm going to tell you which books are on my pull list, what's on the chopping block, and I'll even talk about some new number ones that maybe should be on the radar for you as well. Now, I always like to start these off with the book that I am most excited about. Before I do that, I got to let you know, all those Marvel trade paperbacks I got in last week, I have been making my way through them. I read The Punisher, I read Blade, and those reviews are actually up in the community tab right now. I'm thinking I might do a spotlight review for one or two of them as well. But the only other place to get my complete thoughts on all of these books would be to join my email list. Go to my newsletter website. It's thisweekincomics.com. Every week, I'll send out a newsletter with some of my thoughts about just the state of things, my pull list, how I'm feeling, and of course, comic reviews. So go to thisweekincomics.com to hear my thoughts on all these Marvel trade paperbacks. And shout out to you guys for watching that video. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's up there somewhere. But let's get into the books that I'm excited about this week. This week, the book I am most excited for is Powerpuff Girls, issue number 1 from Dynamite Entertainment. This one is written by Kelly Thompson with art by Paulina Ganuso. I believe I'm saying her name correctly. Why is this the book I'm most excited for this week? Well, I guess the simple one word answer is childhood. Anything that makes me harken back to the days when I was 8, 9, 10, and just enamored with the world of television animation is going to get a vote in my book. And so Powerpuff Girls is one of those series that I watched quite a bit. Sugar, spice, and everything that, it's the Powerpuff Girls, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. Anyway, using their ultra superpowers. They are, I don't even know what the premise for this issue is. I don't know who the villain is, who's making an appearance. Let's see if we can find that out. Yeah, doesn't even say. You know what's what's crazy? League of Comic Geeks has the characters listed: Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup with their last name, Utonium, which I knew Professor Utonium was their dad. Never considered that meant their last names were Utonium. Anyway, crazy stuff. I'm buying this for nostalgic purposes. I hope it's a really fun read. That's all I come to comics for anyway. Let's have a good time. Let's watch somebody get beat up and let's learn a lesson by the end of the episode. Powerpuff Girls, issue number 1, out this week. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And since we started off with an indie book, we're going to keep going with indies and more childhood nostalgia with Biker Mice from Mars, issue number 1. Biker Mice from Mars, this is another one of those cartoon shows that I like. I remember from the character designs only, very similar to Space Ghost, but I do remember like seeing Biker Mice from Mars. Like with Space Ghost, I remember like certain like just kind of visual cues or whatever. With Biker Mice from Mars, I feel like I remember the whole like cartoon intro and theme music or whatever. But the point is, that's all I know about the Biker Mice from Mars. They live on Mars and they ride motorcycles and they're mice. Anything with an anthropomorphic animal back in the day had my full. And that's why you mute your speakers before you start recording. Really weird. Anyway, anything with anthropomorphic animals had my full attention when I was a kid. And so here we are, Biker Mice from Mars. What's interesting about this series, I believe it's a 4-issue mini, and it's a direct lead in to a new Biker Mice from Mars animated series that I believe is coming to Netflix, but don't quote me. Anyway, Biker Mice from Mars. This Melissa Flores is writing it with Francis Portela on art. Melissa Flores, who you might remember from the most recent run of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. She's been kind of at the head of that, shepherding that to its final destination, as it were. And now, more childhood nostalgia from Melissa Flores with Biker Mice from Mars. Next up, that one's got a cover price of $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up is Thundercats, issue number 6. Thundercats by Declan Shalvey with art by Drew Moss. I kind of regret not going up to Drew Moss at Heroes Con. I definitely walked past his table, but I didn't have any Thundercats to show him, and I also didn't have any money. But I should have said, hey. Anyway, Declan Shalvey and Drew Moss's Thundercats. This issue 6 is the start of a brand new story arc. I enjoyed the old story, or the first story arc with Lion-O having to grow up. He ended that arc having matured at least a little bit. And now he's got to live in the consequences of the lapse in judgment that occurred earlier in the series. I'm excited to see what stakes are ratcheted up, as it is so hard to talk about this without spoiling anything. I'm not going to spoil anything, but you're also going to be like, what the heck is he talking about? It's going to be exciting to see, though, what the new challenge is in this issue going through the next story arc. Cover price on Thundercats, issue 6, is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on the indie pull list this week is The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue number 93. It's Full Color Zombies, which is also just like a great name for a band. So, Full Color Zombies, you have my permission. Assemble, and then pay me when you go platinum. Okay? Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 93, out this week. Cover price is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. That's it for the indie books on the pull list. As long as I stick to the list, those are going to cost me $19 this week. So, in a pretty good spot as we head over to the big two, let's talk about DC Comics with Green Lantern War Journal, issue number 11. Green Lantern War Journal, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with art by Montos. This book has been great. Sadly, this book is ending at issue 12. If you've been following along, this book has definitely been leaning into sort of fantasy type storytelling. Like, there once upon a time there was an ancient being, and the civilization worshipped this ancient being, and then I don't know, a lot of, like, I don't know. I've never read Philip Kennedy Johnson's Last God, but even the War World saga also had some sort of like fantasy leaning elements to it as well. So I think that's just Philip Kennedy Johnson's bag. And I don't know, it's hard not to compare this series with the mainline Green Lantern series by Jeremy Adams, where that one feels really fun and accessible. This one is good in that it's deep, and it is presenting a lot of personal challenges for John Stewart. But it's probably not the comic people are thinking of when they think of like just a good action comic. And I guess, to be fair, how many of those do you need in the DC universe at one time? So I'm going to be sad to see this end, if for no other reason than John Stewart's my favorite Green Lantern. And I feel like, I don't know, DC just doesn't know what to do to make him stick in a meaningful way, even though there is so much that's interesting about his character, right? Like, even this Philip Kennedy Johnson run, the way they're exploring his sort of like PTSD. There's a part where he talks about like how he was just yearning for a war to fight in, and he didn't like civilian life, but he's trying to leave the war world behind and stuff. And then he gets pulled into this lantern fight, and he says, I don't know if this like endless war is a reward or a punishment. Like, that is a super interesting idea, and that is what's at the core of this series. I wish we could see PKJ flesh it out even more. But as it stands, this is the penultimate issue. What's likely going to happen in this issue is John Stewart's going to find his way home. And then in issue 12, he's going to figure out how to fight the forces that are tormenting his mom, is my assumption. I'm excited to see it all go down, but I'm not excited to see it end. Cover price on this one is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up is Nightwing, issue 116, part 3 of the Fallen Grayson storyline. And that's pretty much all I got to tell you about that book, because I haven't read the story arc. This is part 3, which means I'm 2 issues behind. And I'll be 3 issues behind tomorrow when this book comes out. So I'm going to read it all at once. Read the finale as a trade. Why not? Fallen Grayson Part 3 in Nightwing issue 116 is out this week. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on the DC Comics pull list is one that I'm excited for. This is Superman issue 16. This is the first issue of Superman after the House of Brainiac storyline, and it is a direct tie-in to the Absolute Power event. As we know, dang, I don't even know if I want to say that. It kind of spoils the last issues of Superman and part of the Absolute Power. So I won't say what I was going to say. Just know there's a threat rising. In Absolute Power, what we are finding is a bunch of our superpowered heroes no longer have those superpowers. How are they coping? How is that affecting them? How are they operating as members of a team, as a family? Very curious to see that. What I'm really excited about, besides the fact that I've been enjoying Joshua Williamson on Superman, this issue, this random tie-in to Absolute Power, sees the return of Jamal Campbell to the interior art on this book. And let me tell you something. You buy a Jamal Campbell book. When Jamal Campbell is on interiors, you buy it, or at least I do. And that's why I'm excited about this one. Cover price on it is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on my DC Comics pull list this week is Wonder Woman, issue number 11. Wonder Woman, written by Tom King, art by Daniel Sampere. I maintain it's probably the prettiest comic on the shelves right now. Although Dan Mora and Alejandro Sanchez on Absolute Power, that's the must-see visual. But Daniel Sampere is not far behind with this Wonder Woman book, like at all. This book is amazing looking. As far as the story, I feel like the story is going a little bit slow. Like I either want her to fight the Sovereign and win and move on to the next battle, or something. But I'm kind of getting tired of the narration a bit. My man Sean from the Comics Pals like just rage quit the book. I don't think that moment between Wonder Woman and Chitara meant what he thought it meant, but it's kind of hard to defend as well. So there's that. But I think it was just a friendly admiration among foes. I don't know. Chitara joining this team doesn't really make sense to me, but Chitara has joined the team of Yara Flor and Cassie, last name I don't remember, Sandmark, and Donna Troy and Diana, of course. And they're gonna take the fight to the Sovereign at some point, but when? I want to see this story arc end and I want to move on to something else. But I've been enjoying the book still. And like I said, love looking at it. Wonder Woman issue 11, bands all back together. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it for the DC Comics on the pull list. As long as I stick to the list, those will also cost me just $19. And we are still under budget as we head over to the House of Ideas. Over at Marvel Comics, there are two books on the pull list. The first of which is The Spectacular Spider-Men, issue number 5. Written by Greg Weisman with art by Humberto Ramos. Miles and Peter wanted to hang out more, have like this cool mentor-mentee relationship, unwind a bit away from the superheroics or the arachnobatics, as this story arc is called. Um, and they've had varying degrees of not success. So they've been dragged into this world where all of their sort of fantasies are coming true, like whatever the dream scenario is for each of them has rang true. And as they've snapped out of it, they haven't quite snapped out of the mind control that they're under. And they seem to each believe that the other is the problem. So in this issue, we're going to see Miles and Peter fighting, presumably until they realize that they don't need to be fighting each other and take the fight to the real threat. It should be very entertaining to watch. I will say something about the sort of pacing in this series is like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like in issue 3, I felt like it didn't. In issue 4, it was fine. But I'm excited for the action in issue 5, and if nothing else, Humberto Ramos is drawing Miles and Peter fighting each other. That's going to be fun to look at. Cover price on this one is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on my pull list this week is Ultimate X-Men, issue number 5, in which the new mutants that have all assembled are finally going to fight something together. The story arc has felt like it's come together really slow, especially like in relative comparison to the rest of the Ultimate Universe line. But I've really been enjoying it. So Peach Momoko, you're doing a great job in my book. Ultimate X-Men issue 5. I'm excited to see some action. Finally, cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A, and that's it. Those are the books on the Marvel pull list. If I stick to the list, those will cost me $9, which means my grand total for the week is $47. That means I don't really have any room to try out any new number ones, but there are a few on the radar nonetheless. So let's talk about the books on the radar. Coming out this week is Daredevil, The Woman Without Fear, issue number 1, which means it's a reboot because there was already a Daredevil Woman Without Fear book on the stands at one point. Now, let's look and see who is actually writing this book. This is Erica Schultz with art by Michael Dowling. Both names I'm not crazy familiar with. Erica Schultz, oh, she's got a bunch of stuff going on right now, a bunch of Blood Hunt tie-ins, and she's been doing Rat City. So, interesting stuff. I'm not buying this book. The reason I'm interested in it, though, is that I heard on good authority that the newest Punisher, Joe Garrison, is going to be making an appearance in this series, possibly in this issue. So that's why it's on the radar, but I don't have an extra $5 to spend. $4.99 is the cover price on that one. Next is Dark Knights of Steel All Winter, issue number 1. This is like, if I want to say, this is the new DC Elseworlds line. So we had the Gotham by Gaslight Kryptonian Age. Now we got Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. This one is not written by Tom Taylor. It just plays in that world that was built by Tom Taylor and her name. Can't remember. I really enjoyed her art on the first Dark Knights of Steel, though. Anyway, I'm going to remember it like way later down the road. I don't know if I'm ready to revisit this Game of Thrones skinned DC universe. I'm probably going to wait for this to come to hardcover, but cover price on this one's $4.99. If you want that, grab it. Next up, from Marvel Comics, two new number ones that are on the radar. The first is Neymar, issue number 1. Neymar, written by, oh, Jason Aaron is writing Neymar, with Paul Davidson doing art. I don't know. If you like Jason Aaron, maybe read this Namor book. I don't know if it's a miniseries. I don't know what it is. But Jason Aaron's writing a lot of stuff lately, isn't he? Anyway, this is supposed to redefine Namor in the same way that Jason Aaron redefined Punisher, at least according to the solicit. Sounds interesting. I'm not a big Namor fan. I don't need a Namor solo book. But if it's on your radar, check it out. $4.99 is cover price on that. And the last book on the radar for me this week is Phoenix, issue number 1. Phoenix, written by Stephanie Phillips, if I'm not mistaken, part of the From the Ashes era of X-Men. And, that's cool. As far as I'm concerned, I just don't need that many X books. I am not ready to jump in neck deep into X-Men titles. I'm going to wait for the new Storm series coming out later. I'm waiting for X-Force that's coming out later. And then I'm going to grab the main 3 X-Men titles. And that's probably it until Greg Capullo's Wolverine series. I don't think I need anything beyond that unless something groundbreaking happens and they're like, hey, read this. You need to read this. Then maybe I will. Maybe around the time that the first X event comes up. Anyway, those are all the books on the radar. The Phoenix cover price is $4.99. But yeah, I'm probably not grabbing that. Let me know though. What are you grabbing? What are you excited about reading this week? For me, I just know Powerpuff Girls is going to be pure joy. And I think Spectacular Spider-Man is going to be fun this time around also. But let me know what you're excited about in the comments down below. I'll see you guys in another video real soon. Till then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.